Some games are special for various reasons. Some of us love the story, some love the gameplay, the world, the characters. There can be a million reasons to like a game, but there's no doubt that certain games are meant to be played for decades. That's why I have made a list of 15 games that you must own for the rest of your life. There are also some bonus games at the end. Before we look at our first game in this list, please click that subscribe button. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. The remastered version really captures the magic of the original trilogy, but with all the visual upgrades that modern gaming needs, if you've never played Mass Effect, this edition is the best way to experience it since it bundles all 3 games into one package. If we talk about all the parts, then pretty much in the first one you play as a commander, and your main job is to shape the galaxy with your decisions. Mass Effect 2 is where the gameplay really shines, it's smoother, and the stakes are higher. The suicide mission is one of the best designed missions in gaming. The tension and the possibility that any of your choices could lead to squadmate deaths keep you on edge.
I wasn't expecting to find the Geth here. The situation's bad.
Don't worry. I've got it under control.
By the time you hit Mass Effect 3, the weight of all your decisions comes crashing down. Every relationship, choice, and action throughout the series affects how things end. One of the best things I like about the Legendary Edition is that it makes the first Mass Effect available for modern players with better aiming, movement, and the overall gameplay. It's a nice thing because this way more and more people will be able to play the game and just realize how great Mass Effect series really is. I prefer Remake because of how well the lighting is, and the cleaner textures bring out the galaxies, spaceships, or planets to their ultimate best. It all looks stunning, and you can't help but just keep on playing the game for hours. Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, yeah, everyone knows about GTA 5 and we are already getting tired of it, but this is one of those games that is still being played and will continue for decades to come. I don't think I need to say much about why you guys must own Grand Theft Auto 5. This is a game that you can play anytime and do whatever you want. You can spend hours driving around the map, complete the storyline, cause mayhem, and even add some mods to make the game more fun. No matter what anyone says, GTA 5 is still a game that will go down in history because of the vast content. To this day, people are making videos about it. If you ask some of the kids about their best game, then most of them always mentions GTA 5. Maybe some of you guys are going to argue that the game is overrated, but judging by how much people are enjoying the experience, fingers crossed. I wish that Rockstar introduced something incredible in the newest GTA. Witcher 3. You can't help but get lost in this masterpiece. Witcher 3 is one of the godfather of the modern RPG games, along with Skyrim. The open world is filled with a lot of places, and you will always find something new to do, such as NPC quests, exploring new areas, finding new items, or just grinding to get better. The story is where it really shines. Nothing's black and white, and the decisions you make have real consequences. The characters are incredibly well written as well, whether it's Geralt himself, who is one of the most known video game protagonists, or the supporting cast like Yennefer, Triss, and Ciri. Everyone has depth and their own story to tell. In my opinion, combat is also another factor where the game gets crazy. It's not just about hacking and slashing, you've got to think about how to approach each fight, especially against the tougher monsters. Speaking of which, the monster contracts are some of the best parts of the game. Each one feels like its own little story, and tracking these creatures down never gets old. Also, we can never forget about the DLCs. Blood and Wine is one of my favorite DLCs ever. I loved how beautiful everything looked. It all felt so captivating. The colors, royal setting, castles, and cutscenes. Both expansions could easily be full games on their own. They add so much more to the world and Geralt's story, with new characters, new locations, and more of those tough choices. Red Dead Redemption 2. It's no doubt that Red Dead is one of those games that deserves to be called as the greatest treasure. It's crazy how you can spend several hours just wandering around the map. There's a lot of stuff to do besides the main storyline. You can travel to various places, visit different towns, hunt animals or other gangsters. The world is literally filled with side content that will keep you engaged for an insane number of hours. I know many players who have spent ages just free roaming and forgetting about the story. It's hard to describe, but Red Dead has something special that makes it the most memorable Rockstar game. It's fascinating how the story unfolds at a slow, perfect pace. It's a slow burn, but it gets under your skin. You start out thinking it's just another outlaw story, but the depth of Arthur's character and his struggles with loyalty, survival, and redemption turn it into something much more personal. The gang you're a part of feels like a family, and you really get to know each member through camp interactions, side missions, and the way they react to the events in the main story, and the emotional punch of it all. The way the game explores themes of mortality, loyalty, and the dying age of the Wild West hits hard by the end. It's a long game, but one that rewards patience and attention to detail. The environment is packed with small, interactive moments that make it feel like a living, breathing world. When you finish, it feels like you've been on a journey, not just played a game. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is one of those games that makes you feel completely free from the moment you step into its world. As a gamer, it blew me away how open and vast everything felt. You can literally climb anything, go anywhere, and you're always rewarded for exploring. Every aspect of this game feels perfect, whether it's the satisfying combat, hunting for ingredients, gameplay, or just the environments. You can't help but admire the work developers have put into it. The cooking system is oddly satisfying. Hunting for ingredients and then experimenting to see what kind of meal you can come up with is just fun. But what stands out are those puzzles in the shrines. Some of them really get your brain working, and others are like, why didn't I think of that sooner? It's honestly one of the most immersive and beautifully designed open world games I've played. The art style, the soundtrack, the little details, it all just clicks in a way that makes you want to stay in that world forever. Also, I don't think I need to say anything about how iconic the game is. It'd be a crime not to own Legend of Zelda. The sheer popularity and being the most iconic Nintendo game are the only two reasons you need to purchase the game. Dark Souls. I'm a huge fan of the Souls games, and for those who have never played any Souls game before, or maybe they hate this genre, know this, that it's not like I got hooked from the start. It takes time and a couple of tries to love From Software games. Dark Souls series has been the iconic title. Elden Ring is also there, but before that, Dark Souls was the only name that came up in our minds whenever someone mentioned From Software. The series is super engaging. You will die hundreds of times in each part, but that's nothing, as the game is designed in a way to force you to get better and try again that certain area or kill that specific boss. It's one of those games that's both frustrating and rewarding in equal measure. At first, it feels like the game hates you, but the more you play or the more you progress, you start to realize why people go crazy over these games. It has a mix of linear and open world elements. The gameplay or the areas are linear, but the way everything is crafted, and you visit different places makes you feel as if you're playing an open world game. Each area is connected to a different place, ultimately creating a spider web. You will be surprised to see how a catacomb is connected to a dungeon, or a castle is linked to underground dead skeletons. The game is praised for its boss battles. You go in thinking you have no chance, but after multiple attempts, learning their patterns and adjusting your strategy, that victory feels like the best thing ever. Every fight matter and every inch of progress feels earned. It's not a game for everyone, but if you stick with it, Dark Souls teaches you patience and how to handle defeat in a way that few other games do. God of War 2018. God of War 2018 is one of the best God of War games, assuming you love the updated story, gameplay, and characters. Sure, the game is not the traditional God of War 3 style, but that's the beauty of it. You get to experience something different. The way the entire game feels like a movie might be a turn off for some players cause they just want to cheese through enemies as the awesome Ghost of Sparta, but for some players it'll be a nice change of pace to experience the game in a linear story fashion. The action is present, and there's plenty of it. However, besides that, this time you also have a lot of other things such as bonding, moments, teachings, working together, strategizing, or planning. The 2018 Ragnarok feels like a full-fledged God of War game. The transition from the original Greek setting to Norse mythology was a bold move, but they absolutely nailed it. The shift to a more grounded, over-the-shoulder camera made the combat feel intense and personal, like you're right in the thick of it with Kratos. Speaking of combat, it was such an iconic moment to pick up the Chaos Blades once again. All that nostalgia was a big smack in the face. Throwing the Leviathan axe and recalling it never gets old, and the game really lets you mix up combos with Atreus' support. The way they reinvented Kratos' moveset, giving him more depth and strategy, was a stroke of genius. Elden Ring. The game takes everything you might love from Dark Souls, like that deep, punishing combat, and throws it into a massive open world. The first thing that hits you is just how huge the world feels. You can go anywhere, and there's always something lurking in the distance, some dungeon or hidden boss just waiting to tear you apart. The sense of mystery is wild. There's so much lore hidden in item descriptions and conversations with NPCs, and even after hours, you'll still be piecing things together. It's like you're constantly trying to figure out this cryptic, beautiful world, and every discovery feels like you're cracking open a secret. The combat feels familiar but also evolved. You have that satisfying weight in every hit, but there's more freedom with your builds. Want to be a magic-wielding powerhouse? Go for it. Prefer dodging like a ninja with dual blades? That's on the table as well. The game is brutal, but when you finally beat a boss after dozens of tries, that rush of adrenaline makes all the frustration worth it. Some of these bosses are just pure insanity. These monsters make you feel like an ant, but you slowly learn their patterns, their weaknesses, and eventually you become the predator. Elden Ring rewards you in ways that few games can. It's a masterpiece, but it'll test every bit of your skill and willpower to get there. If you feel as if the game is too hard, you can always rely on getting better, and if you don't want to do that, then are a lot of cheese kills or just create an overpowered build.
Come now, touch the withered arm and travel to the realm of shadow. I will not be far behind. I just happen to be on the losing side of a war.
Yakuza 0. Yakuza 0 is one of those games that really pulls you in with its crazy blend of drama, action, and hilarious side content. You play as two characters, Kiryu and Majima, who both have these deep stories of loyalty, honor, and revenge, but what really stands out is how the game mixes this serious, almost cinematic plot with moments of pure absurdity. And the whole Yakuza series is great, but I am mentioning Yakuza 0 because it's the most iconic one. And playing as two characters adds more depth to the game. 1 minute you're throwing punches in brutal street brawls, and the next you're running a cabaret club or getting involved in the most bizarre side quests. The combat is flashy, with each character having different fighting styles, and once you master those heat moves, it just feels so satisfying. The side activities like karaoke, disco dancing, and managing real estate are a wild change of pace and give the game so much variety. The story is definitely a standout, but it's the side content that makes Yakuza 0 something special. It's both hilarious and heartfelt, and it manages to balance the two perfectly. It's definitely a must-play for anyone into action-packed, story-driven games. Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Skyrim is one of those games that just sucks you in right from the start. You're dropped into this massive open world where you can literally go anywhere and do anything. The freedom is insane. Whether you want to stick to the main quest and deal with dragons or get lost in side quests for hours, there's no wrong way to play. The combat is straightforward but fun, especially with the variety of playstyles. You can be a stealthy assassin, a battle-hardened warrior, or even throw fireballs as a mage. And let's not forget the dragons. The first time you take one down, it's such a rush. However, no matter what anyone says, in my opinion, the best thing of Skyrim is the freedom to add mods. The game becomes completely different once you install a variety of mods such as environments, outfits, builds, adding animals into the game, refining textures, weather change. Literally, the game becomes a whole new RPG after installing the mods.
To go inside with the phone.
Why? I want to watch the soldiers.
Inside the house. Now.
Yes, Papa.
However, be cautious because some mods can break the game, resulting in losing progress or just reinstalling the entire game. Some players say that the game is meant to be played in vanilla, but it's not a big deal. In 2024, you can surely add mods to enhance your experience. The reason why Skyrim is a must-own game is because it's more of a godfather of modern RPG games. You have got all sorts of open-world content, which means that you won't get bored. Any player can easily spend over 100 hours with infinite replayability. The only catch is you have to stay patient in your first playthrough because the game can be a bit confusing or overwhelming. It takes some time to know what's going on and what's your in-game purpose. Devil May Cry 5. We all love hack and slash games. I mean, who doesn't love the thrill of just cheesing through the enemies like a fruit ninja? Sometimes you have an awesome sword, while sometimes you've got a fast-paced gun. The important stuff is that your main job is just to move forward by killing enemies in style. And that's when DMC comes in. The series will feel like your home if you're into catchy dialogues, awesome punchlines, and fast-paced intense combat. There are also some pretty great cutscenes that will keep you hooked. The reason 5th part is the best one is because of how well made it really is. The characters are refined in an amazing manner, and we also get to play all the major DMC protagonists. The game lets you play certain missions with Nero, Dante, or V. So, you're pretty much completing missions in a variety of movesets and different cutscenes. This way you won't get bored and will have an amazing blast experiencing different playstyles. Not gonna lie, no matter what the developers did or will do in the future DMC games, I will always love to play as Dante. For me, Dante is the definition of DMC. You can't spell Devil May Cry without mentioning the charm and awesomeness of Dante. He's the one holding the series together. Huge arsenal of weapons, Michael Jackson dance, catchy punchlines. You can't help but admire the guy. Finally, I think just for the sake of the hack and slash genre, you should definitely own the DMC series. Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 is an absolute blast from start to finish, man. It's like being part of a huge summer blockbuster movie, but you're the one in control. The story is probably the best in the series. It dives deep into Nathan Drake's past and relationships, especially with his brother Sam, which adds so much more emotional weight to everything. It's not just about finding treasure anymore, it's about family, loyalty, and dealing with the consequences of Nate's past.
Hey, brother!
If we briefly talk about the basic features then, the graphics are top tier, and the attention to detail is insane, whether it's the environments, the facial animations, or even the little things like how your clothes get wet or dirty as you explore. You will be surprised how stunning the game really is. The wide variety of environments makes the game engaging as you're not stuck in some random jungle. Uncharted 4 takes you on a journey across different places such as island, jungles, ruins, mansions. All this makes the overall experience quite fun, and you won't feel like leaving the controller. Now, let's talk about another fan favorite aspect of the game, the gameplay. You've still got those classic Uncharted action moments, big shootouts, crazy set pieces where everything's blowing up or falling apart around you, but there's also a lot of exploration and puzzle solving. The grappling hook adds a fun twist to movement and combat, and it gives you more ways to approach situations. Last of Us Remake. And at its core, the remake stays true to the original masterpiece, but it's been given a modern facelift that really changes how it feels. The visuals are insane, and I mean that in the best way possible. Every scene feels like it's filled with detail, whether it's the subtle emotions on Joel and Ellie's faces or the terrifying realism of the infected. You can tell the developers went all in on making sure every corner of this world looks like it's been lived in and ruined by the apocalypse. They've clearly taken lessons from Part 2 and brought those mechanics back to make the combat and stealth feel more refined. You're sneaking around, taking down enemies and crafting things on the go, but everything just feels a bit more fluid. The enemy AI is also enhanced, which means that it'll be much harder to find a good hiding spot. You can get spotted and killed pretty easily. What really stands out is how emotionally heavy it still hits, maybe even harder this time. It's like revisiting a movie you love, but now you're noticing all these little extra details that make it even more heartbreaking. That bond between Joel and Ellie is somehow even more powerful with the added realism. Honestly, if you want to own a zombie game, then Last of Us is perhaps the best one. Days Gone is a good one, but you will probably get bored. Dying Light is another fine example if you just love the thrill of smashing skulls. That's why Last of Us Remake is the best choice for anyone who wants to experience a great story amidst a zombie apocalypse. Ghost of Tsushima. This is honestly one of those games that feels like an epic movie you get to control. The first thing that hits you is the sheer beauty of the island, those golden fields, cherry blossoms blowing in the wind, the sunrises that make you stop in your tracks. Visually, it's a masterpiece, and the environment totally pulls you in. But it's not just about looks, the combat is incredibly satisfying. You get the sense of being a real samurai, mastering different stances, dodging, parrying. Every fight feels intense, like a dance with death. Combat really is the strong point of Tsushima. We can execute a variety of moves with different stances and can even use the ghost weapons, which really gives the feeling of a ninja. Some of my favorite are the stealth takedowns, standoffs, and just seamlessly killing enemies in the ghost mode. Another best thing are the duels. Those one-on-one showdowns are like boss fights, but so grounded in reality. Each duel is this slow, tense standoff that could end in seconds, and it never stops being awesome. And let's not forget the exploration. The game does this clever thing where the wind guides you instead of a giant map marker, so it feels natural. You're constantly stumbling on hidden shrines, mythic quests, or just beautiful spots that make you pause for a moment to take it all in. Ghost of Tsushima is an experience. It's the kind of game where you lose track of time because you're so immersed in its world. Before I reveal my final pick, here are some honorable mentions. AC Odyssey. Now, wait a minute, before you say anything, know that I'm not just referring to Odyssey. I just think that it's the most appropriate one. If you love the other parts, then you can definitely go with them. However, one thing is for sure that some of us needs to own at least one Assassin's Creed game. Maybe for some players it's Black Flag, for some it could be the newer open world titles. Despite all this, AC series has been one of the most iconic series of all time. Therefore, it would be a crime not to own or play even a single Assassin's Creed game. Linear style, open world elements, engaging story, finest parkour, anything you want is present across multiple installments. Our next bonus game is Marvel's Spider-Man. The reason I'm including this game is because Spidey has been one of our favorite superheroes. We love the guy since our childhood, and over the years we had a lot of games, but the 2018 is definitely the best one as everything has been updated, whether it be the entire New York City or the cinematic visuals or cutscenes, and the gameplay is smooth as well. Web swinging feels incredible. Just for the sake of nostalgia and how iconic Spidey is, I think it's no doubt we must own at least one Spider-Man game. You guys can go with the other modern ones, but I just love the 2018 release. The next game is Resident Evil 4 Remake. This one is my favorite Resident Evil game because of how amazing the action feels, as this time you're not at the mercy of the villain like Tyrant or Nemesis. The fourth part gives you the best protagonist and you become stronger with each mission. The sense of horror is a bit low, but the game still manages to provide a decent experience. The mix of awesome action with stealth all wrapped up in a suspenseful burrito makes the game a masterpiece. The remake adds a few changes while staying true to its core. You could say it's the perfect example of how remakes should be made. Ashley is more bearable this time, and the areas are properly lit, making the environments appear beautiful. The gameplay is also smooth, which makes the playthrough a blast from start to finish.
We gotta keep moving forward. We will beat this. Together.
Final Fantasy VII Remake. As someone who's played it, the first thing that hits you is how stunning everything looks. The graphics are top tier, especially in those cutscenes where you can just sit back and soak in the atmosphere. Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, all the characters you knew or heard of feel more real and alive than ever. If we talk about the combat, then it's such a satisfying blend of action and strategy. Even though I'm not big on turn-based systems, the remake does a great job of making it more fluid with real-time elements. You're not just sitting there waiting for your turn, you're constantly making decisions and reacting in the moment. Every fight feels intense, and using Cloud's gigantic sword or watching Tifa land a combo never gets old.
Is what a scoundrel might say, but I wouldn't dream of distressing y'all further. Just so happens one of our birds ran off the other day. Wild thing, but still a...
But the real heart of this game is its story. Even if you're familiar with the original, this version takes things in some unexpected directions while still delivering those key emotional moments. Sephiroth is the most iconic villain of all time. Even if you're not a fan of the series, you must know about Cloud and Sapphira. The music is final appreciation for the game. They've remastered all the classic tracks, and it just adds so much depth to the experience. Whether you're walking through Midgar or gearing up for a boss fight, the soundtrack hits you right in the feels.
Good old what's his face. Nothing new, yeah. I hate doing cleanup, but I'm damn good at it.
Alright, this finishes our list of the best must-own games. Each of these games are based on different genres, which means that depending on your jam, you can dive into any game you like. There are touching storylines, seamless gameplay, intense combat, and the most beautiful environments. Some of these titles are also the iconic ones, so it's no doubt that you should own most of these games. Anyways, if you have made it this far, then please subscribe, as I'm close to reaching 21,000 subscribers, and join my Discord for amazing gaming content.